Welcome to my ultimate Chinese banquet. I've handpicked 12 of my favourite dishes from my channel so you can turn them into an event. I've got 3 amazing starters that will get your taste buds tingling. I've also created a selection of crowd pleaser main dishes which will give you a wonderful variety of flavours, textures and aromas. And I've ended the list with a dish that is really close to my heart because not only do I love it, it holds great sentimental value for me. I hope you enjoy this and please let me know what you would put in your ultimate Chinese banquet. Hi guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to make this iconic dish. Crispy, crunchy vegetable spring rolls, not the eeny meeny ones, the big man-sized ones. Let's do it. Right guys, so the first thing you're going to need is some of these. These are spring roll pastries, or as I call them pancake roll skins. Okay, and you can get them from your local Asian or Chinese supermarket. They're very inexpensive and they come frozen. It's a little bit like pastry. You could make your own puff pastry, but it's so much easier to buy them frozen. And in terms of quality, these will do the job. You'll find most of your takeaways and restaurants are using this. So I would recommend always buying these. It is really literally like buying frozen pastry over making your own pastry because the quality difference is negligible. For the filling, you're going to need 200 grams of bean sprouts, 5 mushrooms finely sliced, 1 courgette sliced julienne style, 1 peeled carrot also sliced julienne style. To give my spring rolls a little bit more bite, I'm going to put in some cabbage, spring heart cabbage in this case. To be fair, most spring roll recipes are a bit of a free-for-all, so try anything you like. I'm also adding some finely sliced peppers here. It's a good opportunity to pack as many vitamins in, especially if you've got kids. A couple of finely sliced spring onions will add a fresh, oniony flavour. And finally, 3 cloves of garlic finely diced for that extra oomph. So the next step is to stir fry all our ingredients. You start off with the garlic and then we add our bean sprouts. Give it a stir, or a stir. Then we add our cabbage. After this we add our courgettes. And then our carrots and our peppers. Give it another stir. I don't know why I'm saying stir, I just like saying stir. And then add our mushrooms and give it a toss. There's a new word for you. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to soften all the vegetables and we're going to cook it to about 3/4 of the way through. As we do this, you might notice that initially you start off with a lot of ingredients. This will all shrink down a little bit. Here we're adding a lot of salt. We're adding about a teaspoon or so of salt and about a teaspoon of ground white pepper, and to finish off with about a teaspoon of paprika for that extra little rich flavour. We're also adding a teaspoon of sesame oil, which will give it that Chinese authentic rich smoky taste. Really makes a difference. As you can see, it's starting to soften and it's starting to shrink. It won't shrink to nothing, but it probably loses about a quarter or a third of its total volume. And then we put it into a big bowl, and the important bit is we set it aside. Do not try to wrap your spring rolls whilst the mixture is still hot. Let it cool down, put it in the fridge. So these are best defrosted overnight, after which you'll find that they actually do separate fairly easily, although with a little bit of care. These are folded over at the edges, which makes it a little bit trickier, but there we go. Just gently, without ripping it. Bring them apart. Okay, Set these aside. And there you have our pancake roll skin or spring roll skin. And you can see how paper thin it is. So after you've let the mixture cool down, now you can start the wrapping. The mixture we've made will probably make between 4 and 6 pancake rolls or spring rolls, depending on how big you make them. The amount I'm putting in mine are probably only going to extend to about 4 or 5, but you probably could get 6 if you're a little bit more prudent, shall we say. So as we wrap them in, make sure you keep the skin really, really tight, without splitting it, of course. And then we're going to use corn flour mixed with water to seal up our pancake roll. You could use egg, and egg is probably a little bit more effective, but we're going vegan with this recipe, so we're using corn flour and water. Now we're heating up our oil until our chopstick fizzes, and we can then introduce our spring rolls into the hot oil carefully, okay? If you had wrapped your spring rolls when your mixture was still too warm, it would start to soak into the skin, and that means that at this stage it would probably rupture and burst through, and you'd get bean sprouts spitting all over the place. Not good. If you feel that you did probably leave them a little bit warm before you wrapped them, you can double wrap them again. That means put another skin around your spring roll so you got a double skin, and that will stop that from happening, and it won't really affect any of the taste or the texture of your spring roll. It should still be nice and crispy. Turning them every now and again, the frying process should take 4 to 5 minutes, after which they should look lovely golden brown, just like this. Right guys, check these out. They look really amazing. Right, I'm going to cut them. Normally I would eat them like a big old hot dog, but for the sake of being on camera, I'm going to cut it. Oh, can you hear that? Check it out. Isn't that pretty? Right, the way I like to eat these, there's 2 ways I like to eat these. Either with a sweet and sour sauce. If you want to make a sweet and sour sauce, I've got some recipes on my channel. I'll put the card up here. It'll be for the whole dish, but the sweet and sour sauce will be in there. But to save time, my second favourite way of eating them is to dip them in sweet chilli sauce. So here we go. Boy, that's good. The vegetables are still crisp. And the flavour from the paprika and the garlic, lovely. You can taste every individual vegetable in there. The courgettes, the carrots, the mushrooms, everything. This is better than your local Chinese takeaway, I guarantee it. Because you made it yourself. There's nothing better than that. Amazing. A bit more.
You're such a messy eater.
I don't care. It's too good. I don't care. Have a plate underneath when you do it, guys. But yeah. Sorry, my director's having a pop at me now. I'm taking too long because I'm enjoying these so much. They're so delicious. If you want to have meat in them, you can put Chinese barbecue pork. You can put pieces of ham, or something I like doing is actually using a bit of bacon. Shred some bacon up, get them nice and crispy, put them in. That is absolutely delicious. But today's a vegetarian day, so anybody can have this. It's actually totally vegan. There are no animal products in this whatsoever. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this recipe. If you do like it, think about subscribing, liking and commenting. If you've got any more recipes for me to try, put them in the comment section below. I am doing more than Chinese food now. Anything goes, just let me know. And if I like that idea, I will do it in a video for you. Okay, I'll see you next time. Thank you guys, bye. Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau, and today I'm going to show you how to make chicken sesame toast. Let's go. Now, most of you are probably familiar with sesame prawn toast because you've probably had it from takeaways and restaurants before. But I also know that quite a few of you don't really like prawn. And there is an alternative, and that's the chicken sesame prawn toast. Equally tasty, equally easy to make, and just as good. But before we jump into the recipe, I have to give a big shout out to Gem District, who was the first one to put the correct answer in the comments of what my last anagram was, which was flavour is life. Now, same goes for this one. First person to put down the correct answer for this anagram will get a shout out in the next video. So see if you can get it before the video finishes. So first off, I've got 2 cloves of garlic, which I'm going to roughly chop. Now I've got a piece of ginger which I've peeled, and I'm just going to really finely chop this. You can grate it if you like. And altogether, this is going to be about a teaspoon of ginger. I've also got 2 pieces of spring onion, which I am going to finely chop. I'm going to separate a large egg. I've got 300 grams of chicken breast meat here, which I'm just going to roughly chop. So the next step is to blitz all our ingredients together. So this might be the right time to break out your food processors. I'm not, because mine's gathering dust in the cupboard. I don't use it often enough to justify having it on my work counter. So therefore I'm going to use this. Now, I picked this up from Hong Kong years and years ago. It was an impulse buy, one of those things that when I bought it and showed it to my wife, she kind of rolled her eyes at me thinking, you're never going to use that. Well, who's laughing now, Yvonne? I'm using it today. It's quite a simple little thing really. It's basically a mixing bowl with a little thing that holds a blade. It also has an aerator whisk thing, so you can use it to whisk things up pretty easily. This is a blade obviously to chop and to shred things quite finely. And on that sits the lid with a gearing mechanism, and you use your handle, turns it around, makes the blade spin fast, and therefore chop up and shred everything that's in the bowl. Quite simple really. So we're going to put our roughly chopped up chicken here. Obviously I chopped it up roughly so it would actually give it a head start. The rest of it will be shredded by the blades. If you don't have a food processor or anything like this at all, you could obviously use a knife to really mash and chop the chicken up, or you can buy minced chicken, which I think you can widely find in supermarkets, and that makes your life quite a bit easier too. So to the chicken I'm going to add about half a tablespoon of light soy sauce, half a tablespoon of sesame oil, about a teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of fried spice powder, a little pinch of salt and white pepper, not too much salt because obviously we've got saltiness from the soy sauce in there, the spring onions, ginger and garlic, and the egg white. So we're going to put the lid on this thing, and then we're going to blitz it up. Right, there you go. It seems to be a nice texture. However, the effort I had to put in to get it to this stage was quite a lot. I may have to eat humble pie and say, although it worked, getting the food processor out was probably the easier option. Once again, my wife is correct. Right guys, so the next step is to prepare our bread. I've got 3 slices of quite thick bread here, and I'm going to just take the crusts off. Obviously, the less wastage, the better. You can keep the crust on if you like. It's just that traditionally, the crusts are taken off. I actually find that slightly stale bread is easier to use on this recipe, because when it comes to spreading on the mixture, if the bread is really soft, it's quite hard to apply. Obviously, when the bread is a little bit, I'm not talking about moldy bread, I'm talking about the bread that's just gone a little bit dry, which is perfect. Obviously, we won't notice this because it's about to get fried. So we've got a piece of bread, and we're going to spoon the mixture on and just flatten it down with the spoon. You want quite a thick layer, like so. And then pop it in the fridge for about half an hour to chill. It's been about half an hour now, so I've got the bread with the chicken mixture out of the fridge. I've got 100 grams of sesame seeds, and remember that egg I separated before? Well, here's the yolk, and I've added another egg to it, so I've got about 1.5 eggs here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip face down into the egg, and this is going to help me stick the sesame seeds to the bread, just like that. And what we need to do is just gently press it in to make sure that it's going to stick firmly. We don't want it coming loose during the frying stage. Right guys, as you can see, we've made 6 very generous pieces of sesame chicken bread here, soon to become toast. The thickness of the mixture is wow, and the amount of sesame seeds we've put in here, I don't think you're gonna find restaurants or takeaways selling them like this, because they wouldn't make any money whatsoever. However, if you have made more than you can eat in one go, what you can do is put them in freezer bags and stick them in the freezer. They'll last months. So if you've got a party or an event coming up, you can make loads and stick them in your freezer. You can actually cook them from frozen, so you don't even have to defrost them. You can put them straight in and fry them, and they'll be perfect. And everybody's gonna think you're a complete wizard in the kitchen. Right guys, so I've got about 1 centimetre of oil in this big frying pan here. So we're gonna get the oil medium, not too hot, otherwise we're gonna burn our toast. I'm gonna put a bit of crust in just to see what temperature we're at. And kind of just fizzing away is nice. We don't want it too fierce, otherwise it is going to burn the bread and the chicken mix, and that's not what we want. So I've got my first piece of toast here, or first piece of bread. It's not toast yet, and we're going to gently lay it down, face down, into the hot oil, followed quickly by another one. Let it sizzle away for a little bit. And what we want is a golden brown, so we're going to turn it over, and we're going to flip it over a couple of times during the whole of the cooking, just to make sure that it's not going to burn too much on either side. See, that first fry has kind of set the mixture onto the bread, but obviously it hasn't cooked it through yet, so we're going to turn it over a couple of times at least throughout this cooking stage. It's just nicely blipping away. You have to keep an eye on this because it can burn quite quickly if you're not careful. So we're going to turn it over again. So after about 5 or 6 minutes, when the toast is nice and golden brown, they're done. Now all there is to do is to drain them on some kitchen towel. And get ready to serve them up. Check it out, guys. Now all we have to do is cut it into the customary triangles. The perfect Chinese style finger food. Check it out. See how thick that filling is? And you've got to eat this freshly out of the fryer. Right guys, the moment I've been waiting for, it's tasting time. Oh my gosh. That's literally one of the best things I've ever made. It honestly is much better than any restaurant or takeaway sesame toast I've ever had. And that's the way it should be in a way, because I've chosen all the ingredients, I've made it the way I want to, I haven't had to make it to a cost. That's where restaurants and takeaways are at a disadvantage, because obviously they've got to make profit. So the little things like the spring onion absolutely makes a difference. It's got that really subtle oniony flavour in there. That really, I know it's a weird thing because sesame and the chicken is the star ingredient, or are the star ingredients, but that spring onion makes absolutely a massive amount of difference. And the garlic and the ginger all come through very subtly, but they're there, and it just adds to a flavour, because sometimes you eat this sort of thing and it's quite bland. This is packed full of flavour. And the chicken is obviously kind of really, really tender because we've blitzed it. The sesame seeds crunch against the softness of the chicken is such a nice contrast. The bread is still nice and soft but crisp and crunchy on the outside. I am in heaven. I'm having it with some sweet chili sauce. Wow. I know I say this all the time, but you have so got to try this recipe. It is so much better than buying takeout or even from restaurants, because it is fresh out of your own frying pan. It is so good like that. There is nothing else like it. And your friends and family are going to think you're a complete magician, because it's something that everybody likes, right? But not that many people try to make, because on the surface of it, it looks complicated, difficult. It looks like kind of, you know, Chinese cooking wizardry. But as I've shown you, it is dead simple. So go and have a go, and then let me know in the comments below how you get on, and if you've done anything different or how you've managed to make it your own. I always like to see how people do these things. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, but before I go, did you get my anagram right? And if you were the first one to get it right and put it in the comments below, I'm going to give you a shout out in my next cooking video. Thank you very much for watching. Give us a like, subscribe, comment below, tell me what you think, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys, take care, bye. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau. Today I'm going to show you how to make these chicken lettuce wraps. Get your woks ready. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare our chicken. If you can't get hold of chicken mince, get a couple of chicken breasts and just finely slice them so that they're in tiny pieces, almost like chicken mince. I actually prefer to do it this way. It's a little less convenient, obviously, but what I find is you can actually get the chicken to exactly the right size bits. I think minced chicken is probably a little bit too fine for the purposes of doing this lettuce wrap, because it has tendency to kind of just get a little bit dry because it's so small. When you cook it, all the moisture cooks away. So I like to cut it pretty fine. As long as you've got a sharp knife or implement, we can do that. So cut it into fine strips, and then we go across like so. And it goes almost like minced chicken, but it's just a little bit chunkier, just a little bit chunkier. And there you go. So it's finely chopped, but not quite minced, so it shouldn't go to mush. It should still hold a little bit of shape, give you a little bit of bite. Right guys, on to the stir fry. A tablespoon or so of cooking oil. To that I'm going to add my finely chopped garlic and ginger. There's 3 cloves of garlic in there and about an inch cube of ginger. Get these aromatics on the go. Going to also add about half a finely chopped onion. This will get the aromatics going, it'll give us that nice base of flavour. Okay, just be careful not to burn the garlic. Okay, so next I've got about half a finely diced carrot. Again, bit of flavour, but also a little bit of bite and crunch. I've stayed away from water chestnuts or tinned water chestnuts from this recipe because quite frankly I just don't like them. I can't sort of give you a recipe that I wouldn't like myself, so I'm trying to be honest with you. To replace that crunch, I've got some finely diced carrot, and that it's got quite a neutral flavour, so it'll just sort of blend in nicely. I guess it's a little bit like the base of a bolognese sauce. Carrots and celery, but I'm not using celery for this particular recipe. Okay, now we've got that on the go, I'm just going to push it to one side. Add a little bit more oil, a tablespoon or so, and I'm going to put our finely chopped chicken, or our minced chicken, depending what you've got, into the wok. Okay, and we can start getting that on the go. I would refrain from using minced turkey. I know you can find minced turkey quite easily and it's cheap, but it's a little bit dry. So I wouldn't use that if I were you. But obviously if you want to give it a go, because obviously turkey is extra lean, of course you can try that. I wouldn't personally do it just because I think it would come out quite dry. So we're going to brown this chicken. So at this point we can integrate all the veggies and the chicken. And as the chicken starts to cook, we can add some of our flavour ingredients. So I've got 3 tablespoons of hoisin sauce here, and if you're not familiar with hoisin sauce, it's the Chinese version of barbecue sauce, and it's a little bit sweet and it's lovely and savoury, and it's got kind of quite a lot of depth of flavour. The only thing I guess it's different from a lot of Western barbecue sauces, it doesn't have that tang, that vinegar that a lot of barbecue sauces have in them. So that's your main difference. It's kind of smoky. I guess most people are familiar with it when they have their barbecue spare ribs, because that's one of the main ingredients. And it also gives this dish its characteristic colour. Kind of a reddish brown, which is nice. Right, to that I'm going to add a tablespoon of light soy sauce, and that will give us a little bit of saltiness as well as that lovely soy flavour. I know some people are gluten intolerant, and if you want to use soy sauce you can actually get something called tamarind sauce, which is very much like soy sauce but does not have any gluten in it. And now I've got 2 teaspoons of sesame oil, which will give us that smoky sesame flavour. And we're nearly there, guys. This is so easy. It's almost feeling like cheating. Right. Now, my little other secret ingredient is about 50 to 80 grams, depending on how much you like them, of cashew nuts, which I've kind of got out of a packet and I've crushed them up to give them a little bit of texture. You don't want to be having whole cashew nuts in this dish, I don't think. So I've broken them up quite roughly. And I'm just going to pile them in there, and we can just work that in and get them evenly distributed into our meat. And again, that replaces the crunch of the Worcester. So it gives it its own texture. The whole nutty thing, I think, works very well against the crispness, I can say Christmas, the crispness of that lettuce that we're going to wrap it in. Okay, right. I am going to taste this. You should always taste before you finish off your dish to make sure everything is as it should be. And that, folks, is bang on. Why? Because it is so simple. Okay. And the final touch is a couple of spring onions, finely sliced, added right at the end, just to give it that nice bit of freshness. And turn the heat off and just work that in. We don't want to cook the spring onions really, we just want them in there, giving us that freshness and another layer of crispness. Oh gosh, if only I could speak English properly. Right, and there you have it, guys. As easy as that. And now we're all ready for the wrap. There are a few options when it comes to what lettuce you want to use for the wraps. I like romaine lettuce because it's kind of the right size already for the purposes of a portion, for example. That to me is about right. You can use obviously iceberg and even gem lettuce. Gem lettuce may be a little bit small, iceberg maybe too big. It's kind of like the Goldilocks effect. Romaine lettuce seems to be just about the right size. It's got that crispness. You don't want to use anything that's a bit sort of limp because it kind of defeats the object of having that crisp wrap around your chicken. This is perfect. Right guys, it's the moment of truth. Check out these bad boys. Look at that. Aren't they amazing? And so easy to make. I think the whole thing took me 20 minutes from start to finish, and now they're gonna go into my tummy. Right, here we go. And the beauty of it is, because it's all encased in this wondrous lettuce leaf, it doesn't really make too much of a mess. It's fantastic for dinner parties. You just lay out the bowl of meat and then you lay out the lettuce leaves and everybody can make their own. Everybody likes to kind of construct their own food, don't they? Right, anyway, without further ado, here we go. That is so nice. The flavour from the hoisin sauce is just wonderful. And the second thing you notice is the crunch from the cashew nuts. It's savoury, it's sweet, the chicken is lovely and tender. The carrots are coming through now. So nice, guys. Honestly, so next dinner party you throw, and we're allowed to throw them soon, this is what you should make. Chicken lettuce wraps. Let me know how you get on, right? You're always free to comment and tell me how you did. If you go on my Instagram page, Chow with Lau, show me some pictures. I'd love to see pictures, videos, anything you make, I'd love to see it. Because it's just so nice that you guys are actually making the recipes that I shoot. Anyway guys, I'm going to finish this. And if you've liked this video, please leave us a comment, a like, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. I like spare ribs. In fact, I love spare ribs. I love Chinese barbecue spare ribs. I like battered spare ribs. I like salt and pepper spare ribs. And I like American spare ribs.
I like American spare ribs.
The baby back spare ribs, the Jack Daniels glaze, the barbecue glazes they do. I love them all. I love them barbecued, I love them baked, I love all kinds of spare ribs. And the reason I'm sharing this is because, okay, you might expect me to do Chinese spare ribs all the time. However, recently I was taken to a Father's Day meal by my lovely family, and I had some American style glazed spare ribs, and they were amazing. They were really, really nice. So I thought, I wonder if I can kind of make a hybrid. Chinese barbecue spare ribs, but that kind of sweetness, the tanginess you get from the American glazed spare ribs. So today, guys, I'm going to show you how I make my version of it. And oh yes, they are good. Let's go. So for this recipe, we're going to use 3 cloves of garlic, and we're going to slice them finely. I'm guessing this would be the start of most ribs that you do, American or Chinese style. Just to let you into my train of thought, I haven't actually researched doing American style ribs. When I had those baby back ribs, I kind of just figured out, or tried to figure out, what was in them, and therefore try to replicate it or make it in a way that I would like. So that's what is going to go into the ingredients. But like I said, it's going to be a hybrid, because this is going to be part Chinese, part American. Now, when I first tried it, I thought, this could go either way. It could be really good, or it could be really not good. Fortunately for me, it was really good. So that's why I'm bringing it to you now. Okay. One thing I do tend to do, this is the ginger, by the way, is about a thumb-sized piece of ginger here. What I try to do is cook stuff that I like to eat. Okay, and then, and then bring it to you. I won't cook you stuff that I don't like, even if they're sort of popular on YouTube or whatever, because then my heart wouldn't be in it, and I'll be just kind of, every time you watch one of my videos, at the end I go, that's really nice. And you know what? That's because it is really nice. I cook things to my own taste. Now, that may not to be everybody else's taste. However, I couldn't do this if I was cooking stuff that I didn't like, and that means a lot to me. And also means I'm not going to sort of lie to you and tell you something's good when it isn't. Right, and we're going to finally slice these up. Mind your fingers. What we don't want is any blood in the ingredients. That's probably not a good idea any day of the week. But yeah, I cook what I like to eat, what my family likes to eat, and things that I've been brought up with, things that I've invented, things that I've modified. I think that's my favourite thing to do, is take maybe some really classic dishes like these ribs, and then just mix it up a bit and see what happens. Now, obviously, I'm not going to bring to you anything that doesn't work, because that would be kind of a waste of time. But this one has worked, in my opinion. I mean, if you do try it, let me know what you think. Let me know how you think it tastes. Let me know what you've done any differently from me. That would be cool. Any feedback like that, greatly appreciated. And let's start the conversation. Right guys, so here we have 700 grams of pork ribs, or as I call them, an individual serving. But all joking aside, guys, get as many ribs as you feel you need to feed however many people you're feeding. Okay, this will probably feed about 2 people main course. 3, 4 a stretch for a starter, depending on how hungry you are. Ribs are a weird thing because you eat them individually, so do you want 1 rib, 2 ribs, or whatever? Yeah, and it depends on the size of the ribs. You could use this recipe on little baby back ribs. You can use them on any ribs you can get. Butcher's the best place to get ribs because you get a selection, and they're generally better than supermarkets and probably more affordable, to be fair. So check out your local butcher for the best ones. Anyway, with the marinade, you can probably push this to double the amount of ribs that you've got. You can sort of size it up yourself, play it by ear, play it by feel. There are no hard and fast rules with these marinades, but this will give you, probably I'm doing enough marinade for at least, yeah, for double the amount, probably for 1400, 1500 grams of ribs. If you're doing any more than that, then you need to add more ingredients. Just kind of scale it up as you would. It doesn't take, it's not rocket science, just scale it up. Okay, so we're going to put in a good pinch of salt, good pinch of black pepper. We're going to put in our sliced up 3 cloves of garlic, and the thumb of ginger. Don't think there is such a thing as thumb ginger, but hey, there we go. To this, I am going to add 1/2 to 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. And we're going to add 1 whole tablespoon of light soy sauce. To this, we are going to add, I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of honey. Obviously, this is going to give us some lovely sweetness and also help caramelize the ribs to give us that nice dark, crispy, and little crispy bits. When you're putting a lot of sugar in, because honey is sugar, into these recipes, just be careful that they don't burn, because sugar burns easily. Right, classic Chinese ingredients I am going to insert. That's the wrong word. Right, classic Chinese rib ingredient. We're going to put 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce. I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of yellow bean sauce. Now, yellow bean sauce is something that a few of you guys have seemed to have slight issues in perhaps finding. You could normally find it at your Chinese Asian supermarket, but if you can't, it's not a big problem. I would just double up on the hoisin sauce. Right, moving over to the more kind of Western stroke American style, what we have here is some ketchup. I am going to put 3 tablespoons of this stuff in. I know some people go absolutely crazy when I start using ketchup in my Chinese recipes, but honestly, they've been doing this, or we've been doing this. I speak for the Chinese race, at least the ones that came over to the West, Britain, America, etc. Yeah, it's what we use. Okay, yeah, you can call it non-traditional. That's fine. Like I said before, food is good when it's good. Okay, I don't judge by the authenticity of things. Of course, there's a place for that sort of thing, and I will do some more authentic dishes when the time is right for me to do that. But if it tastes nice, it is nice. I'm not claiming any kind of authenticity here. I'm just giving you, hopefully, food that tastes really good. That's all I care about at this point. Okay. So anyway, rant over. So I'm also going to add 3 tablespoons of this, what we call in the UK, brown sauce. I know some American guys and girls have had sort of equivalency issues. What it is, I've been told, I've been helped by some American subscribers, that what you're looking for is A1 steak sauce. That's the closest thing to it. It's tangy. It's got a kind of sharp sharpness from the vinegar in it. It's got these spices and herbs. In Britain, we've known this since the year dot. It's really good with any kind of meat, and I find it really adds a nice flavour to things like pork and to beef. Really, really nice. So all this is going to amalgamate into something really nice. I think you're going to like it. Okay people, it's time to mix all that delicious marinade in. Why am I trying to look like a weird Bond villain? I don't know. Get in there. These gloves are cool for that. He says, flicking stuff all over the place. Give it a good mix. Make sure that marinade is all there, all mixed in so it can absorb into the meat and make it really flavoursome. You know what? I hate that word. I hear people say it, flavoursome. It sounds like it's made up. I don't even know if it's a real word, but I don't really like saying it. I'd rather say something like, so it's full of flavour. Flavoursome or flavourful. That's another one I don't like. Really don't like that. Yeah. What other words don't you like to use when it comes to food? Give me your suggestions. If you have some food that or terminology in food that you don't like, leave them in the comment section. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. I have a few more, but I'll let you go, guys. I'll let you have a little go. Yeah, and I'll judge. At the moment, I can respond to pretty much every comment, so do that, and I'll respond accordingly. I won't be rude, and please don't be rude. But yeah, let's keep it light. Let's keep it funny. It's only food. Right, guys, let that stand for a few hours overnight if you can. So it can absorb all the flavour and become full of flavour. That's what we want. Excellent. All right, everybody. So the ribs have been marinating for a couple of hours, and we're just going to lay them out into a baking tray. Sort of right side up, which means the fat or the meat section is on top. Okay. I mentioned fat. I was thinking about it because I don't know about you guys, but I like ribs. I think it's a Chinese thing with nice bits of fat in it, because that's what gives us the tenderness and holds the flavour. I find that people sometimes put up by this and they're like very lean ribs, but lean ribs tend to go quite dry and they don't hold their flavour as well, and there's nothing worse than a dry rib, I don't think. So yeah, get your ribs with fat on them. Okay, right, so those are nicely coated in the marinade. I'm going to stick them in the oven. So for the first 45 minutes, they're going to go into the oven, preheated at gas mark 2, 150 degrees centigrade or 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. Low heat, because if you do that, they will stay nice and tender. If you put them in at a higher heat, they'll cook quicker, yes, but they'll also dry out quicker. With pork, when you're roasting it like this or baking it, the slower you do it, the more tender they become and the more they hold their juices. After 45 minutes, turn your oven up to gas mark 6, which is 200 degrees centigrade or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This will finish off the ribs and it'll give you a nice caramelization of all the sugars in the marinade and give you that nice browning effect, and they will be delicious. So without further ado, they're going in the oven. Right guys, after 45 minutes we get the ribs out the oven. They're not done yet. We are now going to use the rest of the marinade and we can spoon some of this on. I want these ribs. This is where I kind of like the influence of the American style of doing ribs, because they're always kind of sticky and they've got a coating on them, whereas barbecue ribs Chinese style tend to be a little bit drier. It's not to say they're dry, but they don't have this kind of glaze or this this coating of sauce unless you have the barbecue ribs in the barbecue sauce you get from takeaways and restaurants. That's a slightly different kettle of fish. What I want is like what you get from an American style restaurant where they are sticky and coated rather than having them swim in sauce or anything like that. So once I have coated, give it a good spread. Ordinarily I would use a pastry brush for something like this. I can't find mine, so needs must. This is fine. This is fine. Okay, just spread it on so it's got a nice covering. Okay, oops. Keep banging my spoon against this bowl. Right, so now we're going to put the oven, gas mark 6, I can't remember the Fahrenheit or the centigrade, but I think I said it earlier, for the final remaining 15 minutes, and then we're ready for rib heaven. Right guys, moment of truth, check them out, check them out. Oh my word. What can I say? I know what this is going to taste like already. Look at it, they're juicy, they're tender, oh my gosh. There's only one way to eat spare ribs. Forget your knife and fork, it's caveman style, okay? You know, make sure you have plenty of napkins. Oh my god, that's good. It's a really nice blend actually. You got your hoisin, the yellow bean, and the Chinese style of it, obviously garlic and a little bit of ginger, and then you've got that tang from that brown sauce, from that A1 steak sauce, and from the ketchup a bit of sweetness. It's magic. Absolutely delicious. Oh my word, that is so good. The meat is basically falling off the bone because we did it low and slow for that first 45 minutes. The gas mark 2, the really low heat, it cooks it without kind of drying it out, and then the final 15 minutes just to blast it a bit, just to get that caramelization, just to give it a little bit of a kind of a crust if you like. That just finishes off beautifully, kind of sets the flavor. Wow, so like I said, it's 700 grams, individual portion. Thank you so much for watching. You gotta try this. It's really easy, it's just an assembly job. And then the baking is two-stage baking is so easy. So if you do it, let me know how you get on. Come back to me in the comments. Visit me on Instagram, send me messages, whatever you like. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys, bye-bye. Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau, and today I am super excited to bring to you one of the most requested recipes I have on my channel, salt and pepper squid. And if that's not enough excitement for you, I've got a special secret weapon of an ingredient that will make the crispy coating explosively crunchy. So keep on watching to find out exactly what that is. Let's go. So my little Chow with Lauers, this is the most requested recipe on my channel. So a special shout out to Georgia Rankin who asked me extra nicely to do this. So Georgia, this is for you. And a special mention to Liz Reynolds, who on another recipe was guessing and never got it right as to what we were doing, even though I showed the ingredients. Never mind Liz, I wasn't making it too obvious. Watch this space, you'll find out all in good time. Anyway, back to the action. For this recipe, you're gonna need some squid, 2 chili peppers, 5 cloves of garlic, half a white onion, 1 egg, approximately 1 teaspoon of salt, a good pinch of white pepper, a teaspoon of sesame oil, 200 grams of corn flour, otherwise known as cornstarch, enough cooking oil for deep frying. And finally, my secret ingredient. To find out what it is, keep on watching. It's a good one. So the first thing I'm going to do is finely chop the garlic. And for me in this dish, the garlic is every bit as important as the chili, even though the chili gets the headline. The garlic just gives it that extra kick of flavour that is so nice in this dish. Obviously, if you're not a garlic fan, you don't have to put as much in. But I love the stuff, so 5 cloves. Next, we're going to do our chilies. I've got 2 chilies here. Depending on what your threshold for heat is, you can decide how many chilies you want to put in. I'm going to finely chop these. You could deseed them if you think the chilies might be too hot for you, but I'm just going to keep it all because I want quite a bit of heat in this dish for me. The onions I'm just going to finely slice. Right, so what we're going to do to the squid is we're going to kind of butterfly it. We're going to open it up. Use a very sharp knife and be careful. Okay. Okay, scrape away any gunge that might be in there. Okay, with squid, this is actually frozen. This is from a Chinese supermarket, Asian supermarket. You can obviously go to your fishmonger and get the whole squid, and you can use the tentacles, the head, everything if you want. But this is particularly easy to deal with because it's just the body of it. And what we are going to do is we're going to just score into the flesh on the inside, not the outside, the inside. And try to do this without cutting all the way through it. And we're just going to make a mark every few millimeters or so. Okay, in a crisscross pattern. So we're going on the diagonal. This is where using a sharp knife is very helpful because it gives you that little bit of control. And this is going to do 2 things. It's going to allow the coating something to sort of hang on to stick onto. And also it's going to allow quicker cooking of the squid because the heat will get into the flesh more easily. Okay, so we're going to crisscross like this. And the frequency of it, the more kind of finer the lines, the better really. So every few millimeters. Get rid of this little bit of stuff. And the secret to cooking squid obviously is not to overcook it because that's when it gets tough and rubbery. So the actual frying that we're going to do is very quick, just a few minutes. Can you see? And that's going to curl up quite nicely. And then we're going to cut it into bite-sized pieces. So I'm just going to cut it down the middle, like so. Yep, and so it should be firm, but not rubbery. And obviously the beautiful crunch and crispy coating when we fry it. There you go, guys. So now we've sliced up our squid, the next step is to kind of make a little bit of a marinade with the sesame oil and then put an egg in it so that the corn flour sticks to it a bit better. For people who don't eat eggs, you don't actually have to use this bit because the squid, being quite wet as it is, will stick to corn flour, especially when you put the sesame oil on. But I like it because of the colour the yolk gives it. It gives it a little bit more of a goldeny yellow colour, which I really like. So, but it's totally optional. You don't have to use it, but I am. Okay, so we're going to just put a splash of sesame oil, just about a teaspoon, I would say. And then I'm going to crack an egg and pop that into it. And then we're going to give it a stir. Like I said, this is going to help bind the corn flour to it just before we go to frying. But as you can see, that the squid's quite sort of wet anyway. Okay, but you can see the colour, can't you? The yellowness, the golden sort of yellowness, that's going to kind of go into the corn flour a little bit, which I think looks nice. Right, my little chefs, now for the crispy coating. So I've got my 200 grams of corn flour here. I'm just going to pop it into this sieve, into another bowl, and I'm going to add my 1 teaspoon of salt, which is quite a lot, but bear in mind that it gets distributed amongst the corn flour. Not all of it's actually going to end up on your squid. So I'm going to also give it a nice big portion of your white pepper, and we're just going to sieve that through so it kind of blends in kind of evenly as we can hope it would. Okay. What we're also going to do is we're going to bring back the squid a little bit, and if we can take maybe a teaspoon of that out and add it in, that'll help kind of thicken the liquid we've already got in there, and that'll make it extra sticky. I think a teaspoon's about right, maybe another teaspoon, because that'll go all gloopy now, so when we put it in the corn flour it's going to stick quite well. There you go, look, it's going nice and thick. Okay, right, I'm going to set that down. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, the extra secret weapon that I'm going to help you make crunch bombs in your coating. And it is, da 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 da, a spray bottle of water. You may be wondering what the hell he's on about when I'm about to show you. Okay, what you have to do is you get your corn flour and you just lightly spray it like that. Then you get a fork and you just stir that in a little bit. Okay, you don't have to use a lot. I think I'm going to do this probably about 2 or 3 times. And again, just a little squirt. And you're probably thinking, Mr. Chow with Lao is going a bit crazy. But no, one more time, just a couple of squirts, that's all it takes. And what we're doing, people, is each little droplet of water which has been misted by this bottle is just starting to bind the granules of corn flour together, so you get little clusters. So what happens is when you deep fry them, instead of kind of frying as individual grains of corn flour, they're frying as little clusters of corn flour because they've stuck together because of the water, which means you're going to get a whole group of corn flour, a chunk of corn flour, which then fries into a really crispy, crunchy little crisp bomb. Guarantee it works, right? I've used it for other recipes before, and this one I think is the perfect one to use it on. So there you go, guys. Any clean bottle spray and this corn flour, guarantee you're going to get some extra crispy, crunchy bits in your coating. So we're going to put the squid into the crispy coating that will be, and make sure that you get it nice and covered. Now, the quantity of corn flour is 200 grams, which might seem a lot, and it is, but what we're trying to do, you can have too little, but you can't have too much. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, because what we need to do is make it so that the squid, in the end, has got a kind of a dry coating to it. That's what ensures that it's actually going to be crispy. We don't want a sort of conventional batter. It's got to be this crispy coating, because that is what salt and pepper squid is all about. Okay, I'm going to add a bit more. If you feel that you don't have enough corn flour, you can always add some more. That's the beauty of it. So, as you can see, it's getting to the point where it's very nearly dry, because that's still sort of moist. We don't want that. We want it completely dry. So we keep going and keep rubbing it in until it becomes a dry kind of coating. It's quite pleasant, really. It's like a stress ball. I guess with squid, you either love it or hate it. Either the taste of it or more likely the texture of it. I get it, but I mean, I love it. I've met people who won't eat squid, but that's their problem. It's very important that you don't overload the amount of squid you put in the corn flour, because otherwise it'll get overwhelmed and you won't stick it. So you need a coating a bit like this. Okay, so that's about half done. So I'm going to put the other half in now. This is why I said you've got to make sure you've got plenty of corn flour. Too much is better than too little. You can see how sticky it is. So, yep, that's okay for that. So we now just toss it around. So it comes out dry. And nicely coated. Right guys, time for deep frying. As usual, be very careful. Right, we've got a nice fizz on these wooden chopsticks here, so we're about up to temperature. Should be about 180 degrees Celsius, centigrade. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm sure you can Google it. So we're going to drop these in. Be very, very careful. And this is not going to take very long. Literally 3 minutes tops. And that'll ensure that our squid is still nice and tender underneath this lovely crisp coating. So I'm going to only put half in because we don't want to overwhelm the oil. Keep an eye on it. Look at that. Right guys, that's 3 minutes. And we're going to just carefully pick them out of the very, very, very hot oil. Check it out. As you can see, it's quite clumpy. Thanks to our crunch maker. That's going to be a trademark, by the way. I am going to trademark that. So we're just going to set it aside.
Pudding.
Hi, Kobe. Pudding? Squid's not pudding. Okay, only one more step until squid heaven. Right, my little squid lovers, one more step until squid heaven. So, got a hot wok going on. Put about a tablespoon of oil in it. Okay. First thing I'm going to put in is the onions. Get them going, get the aromatics going. Also, this will help ensure that the chilies and the garlic don't burn. Add a tiny little bit more oil, I think. Okay, so in with the chilies. Like I said, if you don't want it too hot, don't use 2 chilies. If you want to go vanilla, then you don't have to use chilies at all, but why bother? Okay, whoa, that is very, very pungent. The chili is very, very, knock your head back. I'm going to add some more salt and pepper because this will give us that nice saltiness on the outside. I'm going to add that to the pan before the pièce de résistance, the squid. And all we're going to do is give it a toss, just make sure that it all spreads through, so we're spreading the love and spreading the flavour and spreading the heat. Oh my word. Check it out. And so just as it slightly chars the coating on here is when you know you've got it perfect. And we don't want to do it too much, otherwise we're going to knock the coating off the squid. Check it out, guys. Salt and pepper squid. Get your taste buds ready. Check it out, guys. Oh, wow. Now this is definitely a cheat day special, but what a special. Oh yeah. That Crunch Maker spray bottle works a treat. Trust me. The chili kick is nice, not too overpowering actually. And the garlic is just wonderful. And the squid is lovely and tender because we haven't overcooked it. And the squid quality was really, really good actually. You don't always have to get fresh squid. That was frozen. It was amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah, you can thank me for that.
That was the boss. She chose the squid. She takes all the credit. But I have to say yes, otherwise she won't shoot me in focus. The nice sort of crunch from the onion also complements it really well. Really nice. You can actually close your eyes and say that's one of your 5 a day, but who are we trying to kid? Amazing. Oh gosh. So easy, actually really quick and very inexpensive to make. And you'll see this in restaurants all the time and you think, how do you make that? Well, now you know, nothing is stopping you from making this at home now. So what are you waiting for? Right guys, so again, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, comment and like on the videos, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye bye. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau. Today I'm going to show you how to make Pak Choi in oyster and garlic sauce. Get your woks ready. So Pak Choi or bok choy is one of those classic Chinese vegetables that you've probably first had in your favourite Chinese restaurant. But these days you can get it in pretty much any mainstream large supermarket. And you've probably seen it and it looks great, but you're thinking to yourself, how do I cook it? Well, wonder no more, because I'm going to show you a really quick and very tasty recipe. Let's do this. So for this recipe, we're going to need some Pak Choi. about 5 or 6 cloves of garlic, 2 or 3 tablespoons of oyster sauce. And if you want to go vegan, you can now get some really good vegan oyster sauce. A tablespoon of cornstarch or corn flour mixed with cold water. A little bit of sugar, about half a teaspoon will do. And 200 ml of water. So to prepare our pak choi, the first thing we're going to do is to cut off the root. And then we're going to cut the pak choi into quarters like this. If there are any yellow bits, these are going to taste bitter, so we're going to cut them out like this. After we've cut the pak choi into quarters, this is when we're actually going to wash it, because sometimes dirt and grit can get lodged between the leaves, and when it's whole you can't actually get them out. So this is the time to wash them and rinse all that muck out. Here you are, and I've just rinsed these under a cold tap, and now they're clean and ready to go. So the next thing to do is to finely chop up your garlic. I've got 6 cloves here. And there you go, there's your finely chopped garlic. Now it's on to the business end. Get those woks ready. Right, let's go. So the first thing we're going to do is put the heat on the wok, and then we're going to add about a tablespoon of cooking oil. Anything with a decent smoke point. Obviously remember, not your olive oils or your sesame oils, because they will burn at lower temperatures. So we've got that going. And I'm going to put our pak choi face down into the wok. And this is so we can get a nice sear on the pak choi. Okay. There we go. So we're going to sear these pak choi for 2 minutes. So we're going to get a nice caramelization on the bottom, a nice sear. This is such a quick and easy recipe. You could be doing this every night of the week if you wanted to. Okay. What you can do is get in there and turn over to get all sort, because it's kind of got corners. These pak choi, because we've cut them like that, it's kind of got corners. So you can see the sear. Look, can you see that? Can you see that? Look at that, it's great. So we want it on all the exposed sides. So just turn them over, being careful not to burn yourself or to get splashed by hot oil. Yeah, like so. Okay, so we're coming up to 2 minutes now. What I'm going to do, I've got 2 tablespoons of just plain cold water. I'm going to pop that in, and then I'm going to put a lid on. We're going to cook that for a further 1 minute. And this steaming is going to cook our pak choi to the perfect texture. And there you have it, guys. Check that out. Look at that. Nice bit of charring, and it still feels crisp on the outside, but it's just nice and succulent in the middle. Wonderful. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm not even going to wash the wok, I'm just going to wipe it down, get rid of the water, and let the flame evaporate the rest. And then I'm going to add another tablespoon of cooking oil. So for this bit we need a medium heat, not too hot, otherwise we're going to burn the garlic. So I'm going to put my finely chopped up garlic into the wok. Okay, And then we're just going to gently cook it out to release the flavours. Of course, this process, this transfers the flavour of the garlic into the oil, and this will take it through the sauce we're making. Okay, that's about right. What I'm going to do here is now add my 200 ml of cold water, which will make the bulk of the sauce. Get that up to temperature. I'm going to add my oyster sauce. And my ½ teaspoon of sugar. And give it a good stir. You can imagine that garlic flavour infusing with the oyster sauce, giving us that sweet, savoury, unctuous sauce, which will just be perfect to go with our pak choi. So you just need to cook this out for a couple of minutes. And to finish, we're going to use our cornstarch, corn flour water mixture, which is going to thicken the sauce nicely. If you find your sauce going a little bit too thick, then you can add a little bit more water. And conversely, if it's a little bit too thin, add a little bit more of the slurry. This is a little bit too thick. I'm going to add a bit more water. Okay, there we go. And then you get it to the thickness that you like. I like it about there. Can you see? That's fantastic. Pak choi with garlic oyster sauce. Get your taste buds ready. Check this out. This makes a great side dish to a meal, but it's such a star on its own. You could just eat this with some rice, and it's just amazing. The other thing you can do, and I am going to make a video about this in the future, is you can actually have some sliced meat like beef or chicken or prawns or anything you like, and you can make it into a complete main dish all of its own. Anyway, without further ado, let's get stuck in. Get those taste buds ready. Right, let's see. Let's grab a smallish bit. I should have chopped this up a little bit more. That is absolutely delicious. The garlic sauce just gives it that sweet, savoury, oystery flavour to it, and it cuts through the kind of greenness of the vegetables. Even if you're a kind of, oh, I don't like to eat vegetables, this is just going to change your mind completely. You got to give it a go. The pak choi is still crisp but soft on the inside too, and the texture is just amazing. It's that classic Chinese way of cooking vegetables, not to overcook it and making it mush, but to keep that texture, to keep that crispiness and the crunchiness, and yet still have that softness as well. It's really magic. But as I've demonstrated today, it's not that hard. There are so many different ways of cooking pak choi. If you have your own individual favourite way, then please put them in the comments below and I'll have a look at them. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please give us a like. That really helps our algorithm, pushes this video to more and more people all over the world. And also, it shows you that you care. And that means more to me than anything else in the world. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon in another video. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau. And today I'm bringing to you another Chinese restaurant classic, orange chicken. Let's do this. This is a real crowd pleaser recipe. If you've got a sweet tooth like me, you're absolutely going to love it. Your kids are definitely going to love it. That sweet orangey sauce on those crispy pieces of chicken. It absolutely works for everybody who likes that kind of thing. Now, Some people would turn around and say it isn't authentically Chinese. Well, to them, I always say, well, it's made in Chinese restaurants, it's made in Chinese takeaways. If it's good enough for them and people like it, that's good enough for me, should be good enough for you. One thing it definitely isn't though, is one of your 5 a day. Just because it's got a bit of orange in it does not make it a healthy salad. As with most of my recipes, everything in moderation, guys. But as the saying goes, a little bit of what you fancy does you good. Okay, so I'm using chicken breast fillets for this recipe, and the first thing I'm going to do is trim off the little fatty bits, the membrane, because obviously we don't really want to be eating that. Then we're going to take our chicken like so, and we're going to cut it through the middle. So we're going to basically turn it into 2 chicken breast fillets really, and that's going to give us 2 things. It's going to make the chicken go further because obviously we've got 2 nice pieces rather than 1 big massive piece. And also because we are effectively thinning the chicken out, it's going to fry a lot quicker, so we're not going to have that risk of burning the outside and with the middle of the chicken still raw. That will help us immensely. So we've got 2 pieces. I'm doing this to 2 chicken breast fillets, so we're going to end up with 4 pieces altogether. So for the chicken, I'm going for a fairly standard Chinese marinade. 1 tablespoon of light soy sauce for that little bit of saltiness. About half a tablespoon of sesame oil, just to give it a little bit of depth of flavour, and a teaspoon of sugar to enhance the natural sweetness of the chicken. Now you can use a spoon or something, but I'm just going to go in with my hands and give it a good massage. Obviously make sure if you're going to do this to wash your hands thoroughly afterwards. Okay, and now you can set that aside for a couple of hours if you can. If not, about half an hour will be absolutely fine. The flavours will nicely absorb into the flesh. So for the salad garnish, I'm going to slice up some cucumber. And some nice firm tomato. I'm going to cut it into quarter shapes, but thinner than quarters. You can tell I was bad at maths. So I'm keeping my salad garnish really simple. I'm just using cucumber and tomato. You can of course use whatever you like. A lot of restaurants and takeaways add pineapple chunks, which is absolutely fine. But because they are quite sweet, especially if you get them out of the can, I think that the orange sauce should be sweet enough as it is. I don't feel the need to add any more sweetness to that. So this will go quite nicely. There'll be a slight crunch from the cucumber, and if you use firm tomatoes, you'll get a nice bite out of them as well. And that'll go perfectly with our crispy chicken and our orange sauce. I'm also going to use some actual orange to garnish the chicken with. I'm going to cut a couple of slices about 3 to 4 mil thick, and then what we're going to do is just going to slice into it to the center, and then we can nicely twist it, and that'll just make a little bit of like a bow, which is a nice flourish. It's a typical sort of Chinese restaurant type of look, if you like, but I think it's quite cute. So I'm going to do it to 2. And obviously don't let the rest of the orange go to waste. We can squeeze that into our sauce as well. So now we're on to the crispy coating. What I've got here is about 150 grams of corn flour, or cornstarch as you know it in America. And we're going to season it up first. So I'm going to add a good pinch of salt. We can actually put quite a lot in because obviously not all of it is going to be transmitted onto the chicken. I always find that whatever you think you're going to put in is never quite enough, so you've got to kind of double or even triple it. Have a play. It's very hard to go overboard, but that doesn't mean just dump in a load of salt. Whatever you think that you need to put in, double it. You should be there or thereabouts. I'm also going to add some freshly cracked black pepper, just to give it a nice depth of flavour. We don't have to go overboard with that. I think just a little bit is great, just to give it that nice seasoning effect. And now onto my secret weapon. Those of you who follow my channel will have seen this in a few other recipes, but this is a technique that I didn't invent. I'm sure I didn't invent. I just thought it would work, and hey presto, it did, but I'm sure people have done this before me. But to make the crispy coating even more crunchier, what I'm gonna do is get a spray bottle of plain water. This spray bottle has never had anything else in it but water, because obviously don't use something that's carried antifreeze or screen wash or something like that. Whatever it is, make sure it's food safe, okay? All we're trying to do is mist some water into the corn flour like that, about 3 or 4 squirts, and then give it a stir. And what that does is clump the particles of corn flour together, and also we're mixing in the salt and the pepper as well, which is also a good thing, right? And we're going to do this about 3 or 4 times, right? So here goes go number 2. And then we're going to stir it, and as the clumps of corn flour get a bit bigger, it means you're actually going to form, when they fry, these little kind of rocks of crunchiness, little rocks of solid cornstarch, which will fry off and become little crispy, like you remember knickknacks? Probably the Americans amongst you don't know this, but the knickknacks that we used to get as snacks as kids, and kind of the knobbliness of it made it extra crunchy. So I guess that's kind of what inspired me. The more knobbly your batter, the crunchier it's going to be. That's the weirdest thing I've ever said today. So look, you can see, look, it's gathering into little rough rocks. So I'm going to do this, I think, one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. And you can see it's not smooth anymore. None of it is smooth. It's all got that kind of almost moon rock texture. And that will help. None of it is smooth. Look, it's not powdery anymore. Well, it is, but it's a little bit clumpy, which is exactly what we're going for. I'm going to do it one more time. There's no exact science to this. Obviously, don't soak it. Just that's why I use a fine mist, because the fine mist allows the flour to kind of clump in little bits. Okay, and there we go. Not only do we have nice seasoned corn flour, we've got the clumpiness. You can see, look, it's starting to stick to the fork, which is kind of where we want to be. No more than that, that should be fine. Right, at this stage we're going to bring back our chicken, and I'm going to crack an egg into it, and this is going to help it combine with or make the corn flour stick onto it a little bit easier. So having cracked the egg in, we give it another massage. Again, you can use a fork if you want to. And just make sure that it's kind of all over our chicken, and it'll just help it stick to our corn flour mixture. There you go. On to the deep fry stage, and one of the most common questions I'm getting asked at the moment is how can we deep fry something in this crispy coating without contaminating the oil too much? Well, there's no easy way of answering this, because the oil is always going to get floury, if you know what I mean, because that's just the nature of the beast. There's a lot of loose cornstarch that's going to be floating around. So the first thing to do is to try to kind of shake off as much loose stuff that isn't sticking to the chicken before you put it in the fryer. But the most important thing, and this goes for the contamination as well as the crispiness of your chicken, is to make sure that your oil is up to temperature. And what we're looking at, when you put a wooden or bamboo implement into the oil, you need that fizz, quite a strong fizz, which tells you you're up around 180, 190 degrees centigrade mark, which is perfect. Okay, so we're there now. Do not let the oil get too much hotter than that, otherwise you are in danger of hitting its flash point and then setting itself on fire, and we don't want that, do we? No. Right, so got my chicken. I'm going to do 2 bits right now because I don't want to overwhelm the oil, and I'm going to, if you look carefully, I'm going to just coat it in the cornstarch. Look, and you can see those rocks I was talking about, exactly what we want. Make sure that we're completely dredged and we're covered as completely as possible. The egg and the actual moisture from the chicken should help it stick, but keep turning it over until we've got a nice coating on it. Nice coverage. Okay, and now that oil is nice and hot, and we're going to fry our chicken. There you go. One piece, two piece. Of course, the other thing is not to overwhelm your oil. Don't try to put too much in it at once. For safety reasons, so the oil doesn't boil over, and also so that the temperature of the oil stays hot, and that helps to keep the flour on the chicken. Because I think it's because it just kind of basically sets it on the chicken really quickly before it has a chance to kind of dissolve into the oil. If you have a cooler oil, it will start to all go dusty and milky, the oil, and you don't want that. That's when the contamination is higher. And we're going to fry them until they're nice and golden brown. And of course, as with all poultry, make sure that the chicken is cooked through before we eat it. There you go, guys, done. Check out the knobbly crunchiness. Trademark. Going to set that aside, and now it's time to make our orange sauce. Right, everybody, on to the all-important orange sauce. I've got 300 ml of orange juice here. We're going to get that nice and heated up. Whilst we're heating that up, I'm going to put in a pinch of 5-spice powder, just a tiny bit, not a lot. I just want to add a little bit of warmth to this sauce. That will give it, you know, a little bit of a Chinese flavour rather than just a pure sort of. I don't want you to think you're having an orange ice lolly on chicken, if you know what I mean. I want to give it a little bit of depth and flavour. And 5-spice will give you that, just a little bit of warmth from all the ingredients. I'm actually going to get the rest of the orange that we didn't use. I'm going to squeeze that in because, well, why not? We don't want to waste it, do we? It's going to give it a little bit of pulp as well, which is nice. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of honey for that little bit of sweetness, added sweetness, because orange juice in itself is sharp. Unless you're using the concentrated, really sweet oranges. I'm using fresh, which is going to be a little less sweet. And finally, we can add a little bit of corn flour slurry, bit of corn flour, cornstarch, same thing, mixed with water. Just add a little bit of that until we get it to the right consistency. This only happens when you boil it, so get it into a rolling boil first, just a nice simmery boil, and then add your corn flour slurry, and then get it to the right thickness. I like it not too thick, but enough to kind of coat our chicken. Raise the heat a little bit more. We should be getting there. There we go. There you go, starting to thicken up nicely now. Tiny bit more. Okay, that was about half a tablespoon of corn flour in all, I guesstimate, and there we go. It's nice, can you see? Not too thick, but definitely not too thin. Right, so I'm gonna slice up my chicken now. Well, can you hear that crisp crunch there? Exactly what we're going for. Chicken is perfectly cooked, still moist. Now, we could have cut the chicken into strips and then fried it, but I try to stay away from that because I love the presentation that we can get from using a whole chicken breast for a start. That's always nice. Also, this is a slight win in terms of if you cut them into strips and then batter each piece, you're actually getting more batter per piece of chicken, which is slightly less healthy for you. So this is a very slightly healthier dish than if you cut it in strips, because you get, obviously because you got less batter, you're actually absorbing a little less oil. Now it's only a minor win, but it is a win, if you know what I mean. Wow, that's crispy. So we're serving this on the cucumber and tomato, and we would be eating it with rice of some description. I would always eat this with boiled rice, but you can choose whatever sort of side dish you would like. So here comes the orange sauce. Look at that. That is rather nice, isn't it? Here we are again, guys. Moment of truth. Right, let's see if this crunchy method that I do works. I think you can hear it for yourself, guys. If you don't believe me, try it, then come back to me. Oh wow. I'm gonna forget to talk in a minute. The chicken, first of all, the crunch you can hear, the seasoning that I got in the actual chicken and the crispy coating, perfect. Just right, not too salty, but something to complement and contrast against the sweet sauce. And the sauce itself isn't too sweet. And that 5 spice just gives it that little bit of warmth that I talked about. It really does give it that depth, and it makes it a little bit more kind of grown up, if you know what I mean. It's delicious, really, really tasty. Notice I'm actually eating more than I'm talking. Well, that should tell you all you need to know. It's wonderful. Bit of salad. It balances it out nicely. This is the way that a lot of restaurants and takeaways serve it. Tomatoes, cucumbers, maybe a couple of chunks of pineapple. It works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We can go fancy, we can get really sophisticated if you like, but basically this works. It's very nice, that's all I care about. I don't do food snobbery. If it tastes good, it is good, guys. That's all you need to know. Don't get into it. Is it really Chinese? Is it Western? Don't care. If it tastes good and it's sold in Chinese restaurants, for all I care, it's Chinese, right? Chinese guy probably invented it, like I said before, Chinese food. You can argue with me if you like. That's fine. Give your point. In fact, give your point of view if you have any other points of view, or if you agree with me, or if you disagree with me. It's all good. It's all good. If we keep it civil and nice, put across your point of view. That's all good, and I will reply. Maybe I'll learn something. Always happy to learn. It's all good. Right, guys. Really hope you make this one. This one is a banger, as they say, and your friends, especially your children, will thank you for it. It's great and so easy, really, really easy to make. So guys, thank you so much for watching again, and for you who've watched to the end, thank you especially, that really helps. If you haven't, please subscribe, and if you'd like to leave a like on your way out, that would be terrific, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau. Now, everybody loves sweet and sour pork, right? Well, you haven't tried this one. This one, guys, is gonna blow your socks off. Let's do this. So for this recipe, I've got some pork shoulder, which I love using for this kind of recipe because it's got a nice marbling of fat in it, which will keep the pork nice, juicy and tender. I'm gonna chop them into approximately 1-inch cubes. Of course, if you want to use a leaner cut of meat, perhaps a leaner pork chop would be more your thing. There's plenty of options for you there, but as you can see, these are quite nice, juicy cubes. To give the pork some flavour, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of paprika, and a good shake of white pepper. I'm also going to add 2 tablespoons of plain flour. And now to massage it all in. Now I'm going to crack in 2 large eggs. Time for the fun bit. Get your hands in and massage that all in. Nice bit of ASMR for you. I've got about 200 grams of self-raising flour here, which I'm going to be seasoning with some salt, pepper, about a teaspoon of garlic powder, and about a teaspoon of paprika. Give it a shake, so we're going to mix in all the flavour into the flour. If you want to, you can sieve it through to make sure it's completely even, but I think this is going to be fine. So now we're bringing back our pork and we're going to add in our self-raising flour and flavour mix. And the thing is, right, the amount of flour we're going to use is not exact. As long as we've got enough or more than enough, that's fine. The amount of self-raising flour we measure out is not critical as long as we use enough. We keep adding it to the pork and massaging it in until it comes to this kind of texture. It's still a little bit sticky and it's got this very distinctive knobbly look to it, and now we know we're ready for frying. Right guys, so I've got some vegetable oil in this wok, and it's making my wooden chopsticks fizz away nicely, which indicates that I'm about 180 or 190 degrees centigrade, which equates to around 370 degrees Fahrenheit. We need it quite nice and hot because otherwise the batter will not go crispy, it will kind of soak, and we don't want that. Let's try. There we go. 2 rules to remember: do not overfill your pan with oil, and not to overload the oil with your whatever you're frying. 2 things, because you don't want the oil to overflow and create potentially a fire, and also if you overload your oil, the temperature will go down and whatever you're frying will not go crispy. It will just soak up the oil, and that's horrible. After 9 or 10 minutes, when they reach this kind of deep golden brown, that's when they'll be done. So we're going to scoop them out. Look at that. Check that out. Can you hear the crispiness, the crunch? Right guys, there you have it. Sweet and sour pork a la chow with Lao. This is truly stupendous. Sweet and sour pork has gone out of fashion recently. When you go to restaurants and takeaways, not that many people are ordering them. But if you do it like this, I swear you're gonna bring your love back for it, because you can taste all those little flavors that we put in, the garlic powder, the paprika, all those little notes are just so nice and contrast so well against the sweet and sour sauce. And you've got the freshness from the veg, and you can use whatever veg that you want or whatever veg is in your fridge. It's one of those recipes that you can just fine tune it to whatever you want it to be, and it's still as good as ever. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lao. My name is Michael Lau, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make aubergine or eggplants in garlic sauce. So this recipe is going slightly more down the traditional Chinese route, and by that I mean you're more likely to find this on Chinese family dinner tables as well as good Chinese restaurants. Okay, and I'm going to be doing the vegetarian version. You can add meat to this at the stir fry stage, but there is so much flavour in this. Honestly, you won't miss it even if you're a hardcore carnivore like me. Now, with aubergines, oh, did you know, by the way, the aubergine is a relative of the tomato. Fun fact, I just asked Alexa that a bit earlier. Right guys, so I'm going to be using 2 aubergines for this recipe. I'm going to call them aubergines because that's what I'm used to. Eggplant, aubergine, they're the same thing, right? So after washing them, I'm going to top and tail them. And then we're going to cut them into sort of 1.5 inch segments, after which we can slice them into sort of like batons, taking out the core because that's where the seeds are. So we're ending up, actually, do you know what, let's do it a little bit finer. We're looking to get sort of little batons like that. So you're going to end up with a pile of aubergines like this. It's important to note that you should prepare the aubergines as close to the cooking time as possible because they oxidize really quickly. So don't chop these up before you need them. You need to do that immediately before you cook them. Right guys, so the next step is to steam our aubergines. Okay, so I've put some water in the bottom of this wok with a kind of a trivet, then I'm going to put a lid on top, and we're going to steam for 15 minutes. Now this should give us a nice soft aubergine, but not so it goes to mush. We don't want it to go to mush. Soft, tender, but not mush. 15 minutes. So I've got a couple of large field mushrooms here. You can use shiitake mushrooms or whatever kind of mushrooms you like, as long as they got some size to them, because you don't want them melting away in the sauce. Pick these because they're nice and chunky, and I'm going to cut them up nice and chunky. I'm also going to use an orange pepper. I love orange peppers because they're very sweet. Again, going to cut them up quite chunky. Also got about half a medium onion here again. Chunkily cut. Chunkily cut. Is that a word again? I'm making up words today, guys. You can see a theme going on. You can see a theme going on here. So I'll put the biggest chunks of vegetables on one plate so we can organise this easier when we go to the stir fry. Being that this is a garlic sauce, there's going to be a fair bit of garlic. I've got 6 cloves of garlic here. Bash them up and chop finely. I'm going to use 1 medium chili in this recipe. I don't want it to blow your head off, so I'm just going to use something that's kind of medium. It's not very spicy. Generally, the bigger the chili, the less spicy it is. So you can tell from this one, it's not that hot. That's a general rule. Doesn't always work like that, so be careful. But I do know, as a matter of fact, that these are not that spicy, so perfect. Just going to finely chop them. I'm going to keep the seeds in, knowing that they're not actually going to be that hot. Right guys, so I'm going to cut off about a thumb-sized piece of ginger here. I'm just going to take away the gnarly bits, but I keep getting told off by my mum for taking the peel off, because apparently you don't have to. So I'm gonna finally chop this with skin on. I guess with ginger, it's one of those things, we're not actually really eating it. The pieces are still there, and the Chinese way is to accept that they're going to be there and either just chew it and swallow it or pick them out, I guess. For anybody who doesn't know, I was born in the UK. Yeah, that's all I need to say, I think, about that matter. And finally, for the veggies, I'm going to use 3 stems of spring onion, green onion, or scallions, whatever you want to call them. Take the root off. And then we're just going to cut them on the diagonal into little pieces. And we're going to add this at the end of the cooking, so we've still got a nice bit of crunch to them. Also adds a lovely bit of freshness to the whole thing. So I'm going to put those on a separate plate so we're organised. Right guys, it's time to make up our sauce. For that, I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of dark soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. If you're going to go totally vegetarian on this, you can use veggie versions of oyster sauce. I think they're made out of mushrooms. Best check that out, guys. And then I've got 1 tablespoon of yellow bean sauce. Now, I've had questions about this from guys or people from the US who don't know what yellow bean sauce, probably because they market it slightly different. I've done some research and I believe it's actually ground bean sauce. Check it out, guys. Have a look for it. If you're in the States, ground bean sauce. In the UK, you can find it in Chinese supermarkets as yellow bean sauce. To this, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of black vinegar. Now, you can use whatever vinegar comes to hand. Rice vinegar is good. Malt vinegar will work. This black vinegar has a few more flavourings in it, which just adds to that umami layer, which I really like. It's a subtle difference, but it will add something to it. So if you've got it, use it. If you haven't, that's fine. Finally, an option, I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of Shaoxing rice wine. Again, totally optional. It's just a little bit extra, isn't it? Give it a bit of a stir, mix all those ingredients together. And what we're getting here is the desired taste of a little bit of sweetness, a lot of umami, that lovely kind of almost unquantifiable savoury taste, sharpness from the vinegar, and of course we're going to get a little bit of chili kick from the actual chilies we're putting in it as well. So savoury, sweet and salty. This is gonna be epic. Right guys, hot wok, cold oil, about 2 tablespoons or so of just vegetable oil, corn oil, whatever you got. Get that nice and hot. Starting to smoke already. The first things we're going to add are our flavour ingredients, our ginger, our garlic and our chilies. And why we do this is because we're releasing the flavour straight into the oil, get that opened up. Therefore, when we add the rest of the ingredients, we are imparting all these flavours into those. So now I'm going to add all our chunky ingredients. Keep the heat on quite high. I want this to be fast and furious. We're not going to cook these vegetables to mush either, because Chinese cooking is based on a little bit of bite left in the vegetables, right? So now we're going to add our sauce ingredients. Honestly, the smell is incredible. Look at that. Beautiful. Now that's come to the boil, we're going to add our aubergines. Now remember that when we steamed it, there'll be water in this dish. So you need to have drained that out before. I've just drained it out before I put them in, because we don't want to dilute the sauce we've got in there. We get in there and we give it a quick toss. So, get it sizzling. And now we can add our corn flour, cornstarch with water to create that slurry. And last but not least, our spring onions. And there you go, guys. Aubergine or eggplants in garlic sauce. Get your taste buds ready. Right, guys, moment of truth. Check it out. Check it out. Is it focusing? Check it out. Right, guys, moment of truth. Nice chunk of aubergine or eggplant. Oh my God. That is absolutely delicious. The first thing you notice is that little bit of spice from the chili. It's not overpowering, it's just nice, it's warm. And sweetness from the sugar. The little tang from the vinegar. And all the umami from the rest of the ingredients, the garlic, the ginger. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. It's such a simple dish, and yet the flavours are so wonderful. You know, who knew you'd catch me again having vegetarian food? Sorry, that is really funny to me, but it's great. It's amazing. You can pick up these peppers. My, and the ginger, yeah. So nice. So healthy. It's such a wholesome dish, but the flavours are just absolutely amazing. It's not what you call, if you're from the West, it's not a mainstream dish, but it should be. It's healthy, it's economical, it's packed full of vitamins and minerals from all the vegetables. There's no meat, so we're helping the planet as well. It's such a win-win recipe. You've got to make this. You know, with my preferences, I always go for the meat generally, or the fish, the prawns, that sort of thing. But this has got me really thinking that I should be eating more food like this. And there's no penalty for it. It's just so lovely. I could have this very often indeed. Beautiful, part of a family dinner as a standalone main course. It's fantastic. Beautiful. I don't miss the meat. I really don't. I mean, let me find some mush. I mean, there's always mushrooms. Mushrooms are great instead of meat. It's still chunky. You get a bite out of it. Absolutely wonderful. What more could you ask for? I'm in literal food heaven. This is amazing. And for the meat eater like me to say that about a vegetable dish, that is something special. So please guys, try it and give me some feedback. Leave me some comments below. And please don't leave the video without giving us a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do that. I know you get used to people asking for these things, but it really helps the channel. If you like what I do, it's just a small token of telling YouTube that I'm doing something a little bit right, okay? If you think I'm doing things a lot right, there's always a super thanks button underneath the video. You can donate small quantities of money if you so wish. But the most important thing is you've watched it, and for that I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much guys. Make this dish, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take care, bye.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Shower with Love. Today we're making special crispy noodles.
On the face of it, this crispy noodle dish looks like something only a pro chef would attempt, but follow my instructions and I guarantee you'll be able to pull off something really spectacular. You're going to need about 200 grams dry weight of egg noodles. The fine ones are crispier. Firstly, pop your dry egg noodles into a pan of gently boiling water. You want to boil them for about 3 to 4 minutes so they're not quite cooked all the way through, because obviously we're going to finish by frying them. After about 3 or 4 minutes, remove the noodles from the pan and rinse in cold water under a running tap to stop the cooking process. After you've done that, set them aside so they can dry. Pak Choi is so popular now that you can usually find it in really good supermarkets, and if you can't find it there, go to a Chinese or Asian supermarket. It's really easy to prepare. Wash and then slice the root off and then separate out the leaves. You need about 50 grams of mange tout or sugar snap peas for this recipe. Being that this is Chinese cuisine, of course we're going to use ginger. For this recipe we're going to use about 1 inch of ginger. First off, we slice off the skin because that does not taste very nice. After you've done that, slice the ginger into thin, even slices. Job done. Next, it's time to slice up our fried fish roll. This is possibly an ingredient that you've never come across before, but is readily available at your local Chinese or Asian supermarket. As the name implies, it's made out of fish, but it doesn't have a very strong fishy taste. It's quite subtle, but the extra different texture it brings to a dish is really, really nice. It's got a firm bite to it. So come on, give it a go. The crispy roast pork is definitely an optional extra for this recipe because it takes quite a lot of time and effort just to make this dish. However, I had some lying around in my fridge and I thought what better way to use it up than to put it on a recipe like the special crispy noodles, and believe me, it really, really works. I'll give you the recipe for the belly pork very soon. You can use whatever squid you like for this recipe. I'm using the body, but you can use the whole baby ones sometimes that you find in supermarkets, Asian supermarkets and Chinese supermarkets. To prepare the body of the squid, first of all you open it up by butterflying it, and then you score the inside of the body with a very sharp knife in a crisscross pattern. This ensures that it'll cook nice and evenly. And then after this we're going to cut it into thin strips. Squid is often known for sometimes coming out very tough and rubbery, but I guarantee if you prepare it in the right way and you don't overcook it, it'll come out really nice and tender and beautifully tasty. So onto the chicken breast. As with nearly everything else here, we're going to slice it very thinly and very evenly, so when it comes to the stir fry we can use high heat and high speed so that all the ingredients come to the perfect zenith all together. Onto the king prawns, guys. You don't have to do this. You can get the deshelled, deveined king prawns, frozen fresh or whatever. These days you can get really high quality king prawns from the supermarket, no problems. By now, your egg noodles should be cool and fairly dry, so pop them in a bowl and pour 2 tablespoons of cooking oil and give them a good stir. Now this is going to stop them from sticking to each other and burning in the pan when we start to make them crispy. Next, get your wok or pan onto the heat and get it smoking hot with no oil in it. Then turn down the heat and add about 2 tablespoons of cooking oil and give it a good swirl. Next, add your noodles into the wok and spread them out nice and evenly. Reduce your heat down to medium and then just let the noodles sit and sizzle and start to go crispy. Every now and then check the edges, turn up the edges to make sure that it's not burning, and then give the pan a little bit of a swirl so the oil gets distributed evenly around the noodles. So after about 2 minutes, get ready to give them the flip so you can make the other side crispy. And if you do it first time, maybe you can look as cool as me. Whilst not disturbing the noodles too much, just make sure they're still loose underneath. Keep prodding around, don't tear them up, but just make sure that they're not sticking to the bottom of your pan. Even on a non-stick, it can happen sometimes. Oops, I did it again. The other benefit of giving the noodles a bit of a roughing up is the fact that we're not going to have a sort of like a noodle pancake. You want to kind of make them a bit fluffed up. So after about 10 minutes of frying and flipping, your noodles should be done and they should be nice and crispy and crunchy. So of the king prawns, the chicken and the squid, we're going to make a marinade with 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil and 1 tablespoon of light soy sauce. Give it a very good stir and set aside for a minute. So I start by searing the sliced fish roll and then I add the chicken. After that I add the squid and then the king prawns. Make sure you gently stir fry this so you don't break up any of the precious king prawns. When it's about 3/4 of the way done, then take it out of the pan and set aside. We don't want to cook it fully here because otherwise it'll overcook in the finishing stages of this dish. Next we add the veggies. The first things to go in are the garlic and the ginger. This will help release the aromatics into the oil so we can spread it into the rest of the dish. Next we add our pak choi and we're going to sear this and gently wilt it down. We're not going to turn it to mush because we want to have a nice crisp bite on it still. The pak choi has got quite a robust stalk on it so it can take quite a lot of stir frying. Next we add our sugar snap peas or our mange tout and then our 200 milliliters of water. Bring it back to the boil and add a tablespoon of oyster sauce. Give it a stir. Now we add our tablespoon or capful of rice wine, teaspoon of sugar, a good pinch of salt and pepper. At this stage it's a good idea to taste the sauce. A bit more sugar I think, 1 more teaspoon. Give it another good stir and add in all the meat and fish ingredients. Bring it back to a rapid boil. Keep stirring but keep it gentle and then add our corn flour slurry. That's 1 tablespoon of corn flour in some water which will thicken the sauce really nicely. And there we go guys. Right, plating up, putting all the ingredients and all the sauce onto the noodles. Keep the sauce in the middle of the noodle nest because then the middle of the nest can go soft but the outside of it stays really nice and crispy. You've got to admit guys, that looks amazing. Tell me you don't want to eat that. Get your taste buds ready Alright, my little chow with flowers, check this out. This is one of the most amazing dishes you're ever likely to cook. Actually really easy, just quite a few stages to it, but if you follow the video, of course, you're going to be able to do that very easily. Let's try it out. I'm going to try with the noodles. I don't normally eat this with a knife and fork, but for the purposes of politeness, I'm going to do that. Crispy, but in the middle it's still soft. And where the sauce has gone is also going to soften it up. Try some chicken.
Hope you would like some.
Would you like the king prawn? My chief taster. How's that taste, Kobe? Very good. Excellent. Excellent. And the pak Choi, which is still, that's really nice. It's sweet. Still got a little bit of bite to it. And the sauce goes with it beautifully. Really, really good. And some squid. Still tender, not overcooked. Really, really cool. This is one of the best dishes I've ever cooked for chow lao. Guys, I am so pleased with this dish, and I hope you're going to give it a go because it's actually really easy. There's quite a few stages to it, but it's not that hard to do technically, and I think you'll have a lot of fun doing it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've learned something, if you've enjoyed it, then please subscribe, leave a comment, like the video. If you've got any suggestions for me, then please leave them in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye bye. Hello, Mr. Prawn. My goal in life was to give myself to Michael's very special crispy noodles. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau. And today I'm going to transport you way back to my childhood, to a dish that has so many memories for me and my family. I'm going to be showing you how to make beef in Cantonese sauce in a crispy potato bird's nest. Let's do this, guys. So the first thing I'm going to do is prepare our meat. I've got a nice piece of rump steak here. I love rump steak for this kind of recipes. You can use whatever cut of beef you want. You can use fillet steak if you want, that's getting a bit pricey, or you can use a cheaper cut of a roast, which you can velvet, like I'm going to velvet this piece of beef, and that's going to make it nice and tender as well. I know this is commonly marketed as fillet of beef in Cantonese sauce in a lot of restaurants. I don't actually think that a lot of these restaurants use fillet steak because that's a very expensive cut of beef. What they'll do is the same as I'm doing here and velveting the beef to make it really tender, so when you eat it, it melts in the mouth, and it could be fillet steak. When you've added all the flavours together, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. To velvet or tenderize our beef, I'm going to add to it half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda or baking powder, 1 teaspoon of corn flour or cornstarch, and I'm also going to put in a marinade of a teaspoon of sesame oil, a teaspoon of brown sugar, and half a tablespoon of light soy sauce. And now we can give it a good mix to spread around the tenderizing ingredients and to get that marinade going into the meat and flavoring our meat so we get maximum taste when we come to eat it. And now we can set aside the beef for a minimum of half an hour. The longer the better, about a couple hours is probably optimum. And whilst that is happening, we can prepare our potato nests. So I've peeled my potatoes, and now I'm going to use this instrument, the mandolin, to turn our potatoes into the fine strips required to make the potato nest. Now, public health warning, really be careful if you're going to use one of these mandolins because they can be quite dangerous. They're really, really sharp. Don't give you a huge amount of control. I'm not the biggest fan of it. If you don't have a mandolin, use a grater because that will give you decent results. It'll be fine. Next, I'm going to transfer the potato into this colander. Notice that I've lined it with some kitchen roll because I want to dry the potato as much as possible. This is going to help it from sticking to the utensils we're going to use to deep fry them with. Now it's time to put the potato into our frying spider, and we're going to press it gently into it so it retains that classic bird's nest shape. It doesn't have to be absolutely neat because bird's nests aren't neat, but what we need to do is put enough pressure in it so it retains that shape as it fries. The natural starch in the potato should glue it together as it fries, and then it becomes crisp and rigid, and that's what gives us our bird's nest. So onto the deep fry for the nest. Wooden chopstick, fizzing away. We're looking at about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what we want. Yep, fizzing away. To help keep the bird's nest, I'm using a sieve and pushing it down to keep that concave shape. I'm gently going to lower into the oil. Be careful with this and do not overfill your pan. And there we go. Gently swirl it around, make sure it starts to cook evenly all over. After a few minutes, we should get that nice crispy golden brown colour that we're looking for. There you go, we're getting there. Now it's time to make our Cantonese sauce. Into this bowl I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of brown sauce, as we call it in the UK. I think the equivalent in the US is A1 steak sauce. I've also got 2 tablespoons of tomato ketchup, 2 tablespoons of hoisin sauce, half a tablespoon of light soy sauce, half a teaspoon of sesame oil, 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing rice wine or dry white wine or dry sherry would be fine, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, a tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch, and around 60 milliliters of plain water, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper. And we can give that a good mix. There you go, that's ready. Right guys, we're on the home straight now, the stir fry. So I'm going to get my wok smoking hot. Like so. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. As long as it's got a high smoking point, that's fine. Vegetable oil, corn oil, rapeseed oil, peanut oil, all those are good. Don't use sesame oil or olive oil because they will burn. I'm gonna pop my beef in, like so. Just gonna give it a swirl, get the oil around there. Let it sear, don't disturb it any more than you have to. Spread it out, leave it. Touch more oil. Should have a really hot flame, we shouldn't turn it down. We should keep that wok as hot as you can. Okay, now we can start to just sear the other side. At this point we can add a little salt, and a little bit of pepper, ground black pepper for this bit, and we can also add our half finely sliced onion. Toss that in. We don't want to overcook the onion, we want that to have a nice crunch, keep it crisp. Retain all those flavours. Toss. There we go. This bit doesn't take very long at all, guys. So now we're going to give the sauce another stir, and we're just going to put it straight in like so. And because it's got the corn flour or cornstarch in it already, as it heats up, it'll automatically thicken. We don't have to do anything else. It's all done for us. By the time it thickens up, we're done. And the thing is with this sauce is we're not going to drown it in sauce. It's just going to coat it. Look, you can see it's getting thick already. Beautiful, beautiful. Get it up to temperature. Cook it out. It smells amazing. And that, guys, is it. Check it out, guys. Now this takes a little bit more effort than most of the dishes I'd put on the channel, but I guarantee it's worth it. You can hear that, right? And it just goes well with this lovely tender beef. That really takes me back to when I was about 12 years old. Amazing. First time I had this dish, just blew my mind. I'm just doing it again. Only this time, I'm making it. Now in the restaurants, they made a big nest, so everybody tucked in and shared it, right? But for home, I think it's actually better to make individual nests, because if you're gonna make one big one, you need a lot of oil to deep fry, and that's riskier and it's probably less efficient just to do one nest. So I've made smaller ones. You can do individual portions, or you can just lay them out and people could just grab it. And it's the easier way to do it, I think. Don't mess about with big, huge potfuls of oil. It's just not worth the risk. So I think individual, definitely the way to go. Anyway, guys, thank you again so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed eating it. This is definitely one of my favorite dishes to make and to eat, and it's a lot of fun as well. So guys, let me know what you're doing. How do you serve your food? I know one of my subscribers, Hugh, he tends to go in, he dips into my channel and prepares these banquets of all the dishes I make. Well, not all of them, but the selection of them to serve to his friends and family. He showed me a video once, and it's just, wow, I was just blown away. So if you guys are doing anything like this, or dipping in and out and just making things from your own bat and then also using my recipes, that would be cool. Just let me know how you're doing it. I'm always interested. I want to know what combinations you're doing, what you're changing, what you're having with what. Absolutely fascinating, and I'm really interested to hear. So let me know in the comments below. Okay, so thanks again for watching, guys. If you haven't yet already, subscribe, like the video, share it. Oh, yes, one thing that somebody brought up, even if you're subscribed, hit the bell icon. Otherwise YouTube doesn't always tell you when my latest videos are coming out, even though you're subscribed. If you go into that bell next to the subscribe button when you go on my channel, you can choose personalized, all, or something else, but press all, just push all, right? And YouTube will tell you every time that I launch a video for you to watch and to enjoy. Anyway, guys, again, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Chow with Lau, and today we are doing king prawns and tomatoes. Right guys, today we are doing a dish that is very, very special to me, king prawns and tomatoes. It's very special to me because it's the first dish I can remember that my grandfather used to cook for us when I was little. And we used to have it for special occasions, birthdays, Christmases, that sort of thing. And I used to get to sit next to him at the head of the table and enjoy this. So it's a very, very special dish. And I really hope that you guys enjoy it too. It means a lot to me. So without further ado, let's get down to it. Right guys, I thought we'd take this recipe outside today because it's such a lovely day, and to cook al fresco means that I don't have to clean the kitchen so much, so this is a win-win situation. So for this recipe you are going to need 300 grams of king prawns. This is enough for 2 people, or if you have my appetite, just for me. But yeah, that should do for 2 people. When you're getting king prawns, get the bigger the better. But don't get cooked ones, get raw ones, okay? Because if you have cooked prawns in a dish like this, they're just going to be very rubbery, not very nice at all. So get fresh or frozen raw prawns. You're also going to need 2 tomatoes, some light soy sauce, some sesame oil, some tomato ketchup, a tablespoon of sugar, an onion. We're going to use half an onion today. Couple of cloves of garlic, salt and pepper, some corn flour and water to thicken up, and about 100 ml of water. You can use stock if you like, but water's fine by me, and just a splash of cooking oil. Okay, so without further ado, get your woks ready. Right guys, so the next stage is to prepare our vegetables. So we've got half an onion roughly chopped, and then underneath there, you'll have to take my word for it, are 2 cloves of garlic finely chopped. Okay, and so we've got 2 tomatoes. This dish is to serve 2 people. You can scale the recipe up or down depending on how many people you are serving. So I've already chopped 1 tomato, so we're going to do the other one. And the thing is to cut them into kind of chunks that size. We don't want them any finer than that, because if you do, they'll just melt away in the sauce. Equally, try to make sure that your tomatoes are not overripe, otherwise the sauce, they just get sort of melted into the sauce. We actually want to bite into chunks of tomato here. So yeah, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so that's right for about 2 people. And so now we are ready to cook. Let's go for it. Right guys, so you're going to need about a tablespoon of cooking oil in your pan. Put that down there, give it a bit of a swirl. And the first thing we're going to put in is the onions and the garlic. Okay. And we're going to cook that off, get the aromatics going, so it's there ready to infuse in the rest of the dish. Now at this stage, if you were using beef, pork or chicken, you would add that now. But because the king prawns take only literally seconds to cook, we put them in near the end. Otherwise they're going to go rubbery, overcooked, chewy, not nice. So the next thing we're going to add actually are the tomatoes. And the idea of this is to give a little bit of a chance for them to caramelise a little bit. We're on a high heat. So look, you can just see it's just starting to cook through now. That's exactly what we want. The smell is gorgeous. Onions, tomato and garlic. It just really works. Okay. So next thing I'm going to add is our tomato ketchup. 4 tablespoons. And give that a stir. And ketchup is one of those ingredients, it seems over simple, but the flavours that are held within it just make a dish like this extra special. You could do it without ketchup, but it wouldn't be the same. Okay, so the tomatoes are getting ready. Look at the colour. Look at the colour. That's the other advantage of ketchup. It really adds a nice, vibrant red to it, which is beautiful. Okay, that's all sizzling away nicely. I'm going to add our water, about 100 ml of water. Maybe not quite. What have I used? About 50 ml? Yeah, 50 ml. Fine. We've got to judge that. What we don't want is to make soup. Okay, but we're trying to create the right balance of sauce to ingredients. And if we put too much water in, it's just going to be too waterlogged. It's going to be too soupy, and we don't want that. Okay, going to add a little splash, around a teaspoon of sesame oil. And the same again, a little splash of light soy sauce. Okay, and you can see that sauce is it's just coming together, and the tomatoes are starting to cook where they're starting to soften, which is what we want. Okay, so we're nearly there. I'm going to stick a tablespoon of sugar in right now. Get that into the sauce. And now the king prawns. Pile them all in. And literally, this will cook in seconds. Okay. Having said that, make sure they are cooked. There's nothing worse than a raw prawn. Yucky. You'll see the prawns kind of turn from a translucent white and grey into a more solid white with sort of orange veins, if you like. I still hear from people who really just don't like seafood, and I don't get it. King prawns are one of the best, finest foods on earth. They're beautiful. Okay, we're going to add a little sprinkle of salt and pepper. Okay, and we're nearly done. And the final finishing touch is about, half a tablespoon of corn flour there with some water. It's an approximate mixture, and what you want to do is not just tip it all in, just add it bit by bit until the sauce gets to the right consistency. And by the right consistency, I mean what you want it to be. Okay. What I'm trying to do is have the sauce coat around the king prawns and thicken up, but not to the point where it's just gloop. It's still got to be a sauce, but we don't want it literally swimming in lots of tomato soup either. Somewhere as a happy medium, that's where we need to be. Okay, I think we're there. And there you go, guys. King prawn and tomato. Get your taste buds ready. Right, guys, my favourite part of the show, tasting. Try one of these king prawns first.
They are so juicy. And the sauce is just nice, not too sweet. I know we put a tablespoon of sugar in, but actually not too sweet. And the tomato flavour's coming through nicely. And the tomatoes have got some nice bite to them. And the flavour has been enhanced by the ketchup rather than being swamped by it. You're still getting the lovely, genuine, fresh tomato taste, as well as the sweetness from the ketchup. And the beauty of the ketchup is they've got some really nice ingredients in there actually that brings out the subtlety of a dish like this. If I just used tomato and tomato juice or tinned tomatoes or whatever, it would not taste like this. And that's why we always use tomato ketchup. It's not just lazy, it actually really works. So if you haven't tried it before, if you think it's just a little bit weird to do that, try it. Try it before you diss it, because it really, really is good. Okay, right, so I'm gonna finish this. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, comment and share. Every bit you can do for this channel would be fantastic, so your help is really appreciated. But I am gonna finish this now, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, bye-bye.